Every year, the same story plays out in homes everywhere. You've got all your gifts wrapped, plans are made, a smile plastered all over your face, but inside, you're already bracing for the in-laws. Because as much as we all love family, the holidays can bring out every unspoken tension in your marriage. One of you feels torn between your parents and your spouse. The other one feels completely unseen or disrespected. And suddenly, it's not just the turkey that's overcooked, it's also your patience. So, if you've ever thought, why do I turn into a child around my parents? Or why does my spouse act so differently when we're with their family? You're not crazy. You're just in the middle of a dynamic that no one teaches us how to handle very well. So today, I want to show you how to handle your in-laws without losing your marriage or your mind. We're going to talk about why this is happening. We're going to talk about the 3 biggest mistakes that couples make in regards to their in-laws dynamic. And most importantly, perhaps, we're going to talk about how to shift from feeling powerless and alone to feeling connected with your spouse again. First, though, let's normalize this one thing. Every couple, seriously, every single one has some version of this struggle. I've seen hundreds of them in my office over the years. I know people from work, people from church, people that live in our neighborhood, everywhere and anywhere you look, this is true. Because what happens is you have 2 family systems colliding, and you're trying to build a new one, the one that you and your spouse are building, in the middle of or on top of all of that. So if it's been painful, that's not dysfunction. It's just growing pains. Let's first talk about the why. Why do your in-laws trigger so much stress, unease, or straight up tension? When you marry someone, we're not just marrying them, right? We're sometimes told this. We're marrying their family as well. But you're also marrying their manual, meaning their training manual. In other words, how they are wired. You each grew up with different definitions of what respect looks like, what boundaries are appropriate and when, or what role every person in the family plays. So when you enter in your spouse's family space, your nervous system says, wait, how are we doing this? Whose rules are the ones that apply here? How are we going to navigate this? I don't know what to do. That's why you might feel invisible. That's why you might feel dismissed or criticized even if no one says a single word to you. And here's the tricky part. Your spouse, they might not see it at all, and that's probably the most shocking, right? They don't see it because they've been breathing that family air their entire life. They know how to navigate it. They know it's just mom, dad, right? They know how to walk through it without banging their knees or walking all over the proverbial eggshells. So before you assume bad intent on your spouse's part, recognize what's really happening here. You're not fighting their mother, you're fighting their conditioning. Now, let's talk about the 3 mistakes that I mentioned at the start. The first one is you expecting your spouse to read your mind. Here's how this plays out. You're at the family gathering and someone makes a comment in your direction that's, let's just say, less than great, and you think to yourself, did my husband, did my wife seriously not notice that? And then you end up sitting with it all night, you stew in silence, and later on the way home in the car, it explodes in your guys' faces. Does that sound familiar? Otherwise, your spouse might actually notice, but not in the same way that you do, right? You're really all the way on this side, tuned into what I would call emotional tone, and your spouse, on the other hand, is on the opposite side. They're tuned into survival. So instead of assuming that they should just know, talk about it before you even go. Here's one way that you can try this out. Hey, when your dad teases me about work, and we both know this happens because it's happened at least 25 times now, right? It really kind of stings. You know this, I know this, he clearly does not. If that happens again tonight, could you back me up or help change the subject so I don't feel all alone on this island of mine? You're not asking them to take sides, even though you actually are, and I will explain that in a different video, but you are inviting them to protect you in the process. And as a result, you're asking them to protect your guys' team. Next up, mistake number 2 is taking the family bait. Let's be real about something. Every family has their bait. For some, it's politics. For others, it's parenting, religion, or who's bringing dessert. Sometimes it might even just be the car that you drive or what you did with your walls and the wallpaper in your house after Christmas last year. And you know that it's bait when you feel the urge to defend yourself or prove your point. The best strategy? 3 simple words. Ready? You don't play. Okay, technically it's 4, but just play with me. You just don't pick up the bait. You leave it sitting right there, untouched. It's fine. You can just say, that's interesting, or we obviously see it differently, but I love how passionate you are. And then you just pivot. You walk away. You suddenly remember that you wanted to get more food, or you remember there's dessert. You just leave it be. You're not required to engage every single comment that comes your way, because the call is to protect your peace and not your ego. Winning the argument often means losing the evening or the weekend or the week, and you and I both know this. It's not worth it. The third mistake is you two turning on each other instead of turning towards each other. The biggest danger isn't actually the in-laws. It's the division between the two of you. When you leave their house, they're not going to be around, but you two are, right? So when one of you feels ganged up on and the other one doesn't step in, you start to feel like you're not on the same side. That's when couples turn on each other. Here's your reframe for that situation. We're not against each other, we're for our relationship. So if one of you feels uncomfortable, the goal isn't to figure out who's right and who's wrong. The goal is to protect your guys' connection. And I mean the connection between the two of you, and not the two of you and any other extended family member that's there. This can be done in many different ways. It can be a simple touch, it can be eye contact, it can be an expression on your face that you do, an agreement that you make. It can be one of these, we'll talk about it later, that the other one ends up reading off of your lips, right? Whatever it is that you two pick, that can just serve as a quiet reminder to say, we're going to figure this out, we're going to be okay. Now, let's talk about what you're going to actually do, how you two are actually going to become a united front. Here's your practical plan. Number 1, talk before you leave the house. Make a short game plan. And I'm talking about identifying triggers, decide together what support looks like for each one of you, talk about when you're going to come, when you're going to leave, all the things. Number 2, create and agree on a signal during the event. Figure out some kind of clue, whether it's a look that you're going to give each other, a hand squeeze, whether it's a word or a phrase that you will say that may not necessarily say, hey, I need backup here, but it will be something that when you say it will give your spouse a clear message. For example, the phrase like, hey, do you have any Tylenol, may mean we need to leave earlier than we said. Or, did you bring any heartburn medication? That will mean that you're going to walk away, reconvene in the other room where you two can just talk, just the two of you, and you will adjust the plan as needed. It will signal to your spouse that you need a powwow in the other room. That will prevent blow-ups in front of your family. And number 3, you debrief afterwards. And when I say debrief after, I don't mean rehash everything everyone said during the entire 2-hour dinner or the entire weekend. But instead, I want you to ask each other, what was it that worked with the two of us? What was it that didn't work? And how is it that we can handle that better next time? These tiny rituals is what will help you build your own culture even while you are with other people, one that's stronger than any family dynamic that you're walking into. Now, when you need to set real boundaries, and there will be a time that you might need to do that, because sometimes, no matter how kind you are, a boundary still needs to be set. Here's what that might sound like. We love you, but we won't be able to make it for Thanksgiving this year. or we'll stay for 2 hours, but we're not able to stay all day with the baby. One extra tip, it will land better, and I forget where I learned this, but it will land better if you end with the positive portion of the statement instead of starting with it. So we're not able to stay all day, but we're able to stay for 2 hours and we're looking forward to it. Or I can't do the speech that you asked me to do, but we would love to come to the ceremony. Thank you for the invitation. So you can flip your boundary setting statements in that way for better results. Here's the thing to remember. Boundaries are not rejection. They are clarity. They tell other people how to love you well and protect what it is that you're building. And yes, at some point, some people will be upset, but that doesn't mean that you're wrong or that you're even doing anything wrong. It's something that they need to figure out for themselves. But it might mean for you that you're growing because you're not letting people walk all over you. And remember, the people that have historically benefited from you not having any boundaries ever, they will be the ones who will be the most upset because now you're no longer playing their game. And if you need help with boundaries, I gotta shout her out. I'm a huge fan. Jessica, a fellow MFT and YouTuber and podcaster, Mind Your Boundaries. She talks about this kind of stuff all the time. She explains everything in a fabulous way. Go check her out. I will put her information in the description below. So, if you want to protect your marriage this holiday season, these are the things that you have to remember. Because when you two show up as a united front, here's the beauty of it. Everything else, every other human that will be present, every other stressor, every other pressure point, even family drama will start to lose its power. Now, if this helped, if you found this useful, I would like to invite you to share it with someone you know who needs this same reminder before their next family dinner. And if you haven't already, you might want to subscribe because next week we're diving into holiday money fights and how to get on the same page and do it fast without killing the joy of the season. Thank you for liking and sharing this video, and I'll see you in the next one.